Welcome to day 4 with Frank Scalish. There's the man, Frank. It is a very special day today. Thursday, January 20th, 2022 on BTL. It's your 50th show, man.
5-0, baby.
Can you believe when this thing started, we were doing a blast from the past, former Elite Series anglers and where they are now. At UK Watt, and Mark said, man, that was really good. I remember I used to be buddies with Frank, and then you gave out some juice, and then you came back on, and then the next thing you know, 50 shows later, here we are every Thursday.
That's how it works out, man. You just never know where life takes you. It can turn on a dime.
How you been up there?
My mom's calling.
Your mom's calling?
Yeah, she has no idea. I keep telling her all the time, every Thursday morning I do this, and she calls me every Thursday morning.
Every Thursday. My mom listens to all the shows, too.
You got to love it.
Has she listened to a day 4 before?
She has when she comes over, because she can't find it on the computer, let alone, try to watch it on television with YouTube TV and stuff. She can't do that. So she has an idea what I do, but she never knows.
What is it that you do, Frank?
I'm not sure. I fish. She's like, she'll be like, so how's it go? How's the thing going?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the thing, Mom? The thing you do. I'm like, what do you tell your friends when they ask you what I do for a living? She goes, I don't know. I tell them that you're an artist and you fish.
That's fairly accurate.
It's fairly accurate.
All right, we got a jam-packed show today. It is like I said, the 50th day 4 with Frank Scalish. So you're gonna have a little gift, an offering for the loyal BTL Day 4 listeners that you'll give away. We also have a jam-packed show where we're going to cover a variety of topics. Frank informed me that there may or may not be several diagrams later on in the show, but here's the 3 things that we kind of want to go over within today. And the first one is not a PSA, but more of a safety tips and feature. We talk a lot about what is going on based on the time of the year. And it's one thing to go in shorts and flip-flops in August when the water's 80 degrees, and it's another thing to go overboard in November, December, January when the water's in the upper 30s. So we're going to get Frank's tips on staying safe on the water. Then we're going to talk a little bit about tackle organization, because there is a big portion of the country right now that pretty much all you can do is organize tackle. You're in that situation right now, aren't you, Frank?
I am, except that my tackle's so organized, I don't have to do anything. And which is true, except I just got all my ice fishing gear ready, because I'm ice fishing like a madman now. So.
Oh yeah, you're working on some stuff.
Oh yeah,
some stuff, and then this is where the diagrams might come into play. You've got a kind of a sneaky. We always talk about the spoons and the umbrella rigs and the jerk baits
and the blade
the speed end and the blade baits. And we were talking before the show, and I was like, man, is there anything like kind of non-traditional winter stuff that you use? And the light bulb went off.
Yeah, there is. And I'll be honest, when I talk about it, I didn't make this thing up. I learned it from a friend of mine, and it was really born and bred in Michigan, this technique, but it translates anywhere that you have winter, anywhere. And,
does it have to have grass?
It does not have to, but grass makes it way better, way better, because the grass confines the bass. See, we're going to get into it right now.
Do you want to start in reverse and get into that?
Well, why don't we let's give the giveaway away first.
Okay, hit it, Frank. What is the 50th show giveaway?
So for all the for customer appreciation, I'm going to give everybody that listens to BTL is going to have a promo code, and they're going to be able to get 15% off all their lure net purchases until February 28th. And the promo code is capital BTL 22. Capital BTL 22. 15% off on all purchases.
At lurenet.com.
Yes.
Does that include the paint shop?
Includes the paint shop.
So that's like that hot pink little speed end you've got up there, that new kind of retro colored Devil's Horse, all that.
All purchases through lurenet.com.
There's
this will go on there. Pardon me?
I got the banner up down there. I was kind of proud of that banner. I just wanted to draw attention to the scrolling banner at the bottom, Frank.
I like the scrolling banner. And for those of you who are listening and not watching, the scrolling banner says, use code capital BTL22 for 15% off at lurenet.com.
Till when? When do they have until to order this?
February 28th.
Okay, we'll bring that up for the shows through February 28th.
Right, exactly. And then here, look, I'm working on other things too. So we're going to start getting a little aggressive with the listeners of BTL, the fans of Day 4. Customer appreciation stuff is going to start flowing. It's taken a while to get everything put together, and now we're going to be able to do a little bit more for you guys. And I really appreciate all the people that watch and listen to this show.
That's good stuff. Thanks, Frank. Code capital BTL22, 15% off at lurenet.com through February 28th. I believe that would be the last day of February.
It will be. It would be. It is.
So you got a little bit over a month to do that. We'll just leave that graphic up for the remainder for the show while we talk about it. We teased it. Let's start in reverse then, because you teased it and now I'm a little bit interested in it. This is kind of a little bit of a hybrid technique that you were talking about right before we went live. You ran down to your boat, your tackle room. You said, I'll be right back. I don't know where you went, but you came back with the goods.
Down in my basement is like a huge tackle shop / workshop. In my basement, I have a room that has pegboard up everywhere, probably 3,000 or 4,000 pegs on the wall with lures and stuff. And then another section of the basement is spray booth, fly tie-in room, and then the other section is tools and power tools and work crap.
I got you. So what'd you go grab?
Okay, so here's the deal. I went and got a couple of lures and a jig head. It's an open jig head. It's called a Sparkie head. And that's it. Let me see if I can. Maybe do I have to put something white? There you go. It's a Sparkie head, okay? The design of this head, it looks like a little arky, but the design of this head is really important for this technique, because what it does is the way this is designed, it slides over everything, okay? So here's the thing. I'm going to talk about this. So this is going to make a lot of people uneasy. I use this a lot in grass lakes, natural grass lakes, or lakes that have grass in general. And how I rig it is I rig it on a 7.5 foot medium or a medium heavy spinning rod with 6 pound test line.
I like where you're going with this, Uncle.
Yeah,
Frank.
6 pound test line. So here I'm gonna rig this thing really quickly.
And while Uncle Frank rigs it, it's the shape of that head. That is like the head that a lot of the old school Ozark guys use for their jigs to skip a jig.
Yes,
it's not it doesn't look like a shaky head per se. It looks more like a jig head that you would tie the old school round rubber.
Yeah, it's not. This is not a shaky head.
Right, but no weed guard, open exposed hook, and then what angle is the eye on that hook? Is that a 60-degree angle?
Yes, the angle's a 60, not a 90. It's a 60. And this helps this thing slide up and over stuff, okay? And the reason I'm doing this is because when I tell you this, you're going to understand. So what I'm using, whoops, I got something happening on my computer here. Okay. So what I'm using is a Yum woolly bug. Any beaver style bait will work. This is the smaller one. I like the smaller one at times. You can use the full size or the small one. Any beaver style bait will work. I use this a lot, and then I use the Bifflebug Junior a lot on it. But what I do with the Bifflebug Junior is I just pull the legs up, the curly legs off of it. So now it's like, like a beaver style bait. And this little flat tail really moves a lot. So, okay, so here, rigging it is really simple. It's just, all I'm doing is I'm going to just take it and I'm going to thread it on the hook straight up. Mush it on there.
This is a talent to rig it high. There
Well, I kind of didn't do it great because see, it's bent. So let me
that's gonna bug you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's because my O's.
You're threading it. You're not Texas rigging it. You're literally just threading it onto the hook coming out in the middle of the bait, like where it's kind of the depression is. Okay. I got you.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's the rig right there. I mean, that's basically it right there. Okay. So now I use 6-pound test line, 7.5 foot bait caster. So what I do is I'll go out and I'll look for a magic marker here. Okay.
Are we getting a diagram?
Well, it's going to be crude,
okay.
but it'll be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to look for a very gradual transitional break line, and it's going to have sporadic grass on it. The grass isn't going to be everywhere. It's not going to be a thick mat. There might be a thick, and because the grass doesn't really mat up in the winter, but the shallower grass might be thick. Okay, so basically the squiggles are grass. This is the shallow grass matted up. Down the break, it's sparse and breaks up as the water gets deeper. So what I do is I cast this thing up to the top of the break line where the thicker grass is, and I hold the rod tip up in the air, probably 1 o'clock-ish, maybe. And then what I'll do is I shake it this way and I reel it, and as soon as and I'm dragging it on the bottom, just dragging it. As soon as I come in contact with any kind of debris, I start shaking it and pulling towards me, and it poofs through it. Okay, because in the winter, a lot of your grass, if you're in good grass, it's brittle and it'll crispy, and it'll blow right through it and not hang up on anything. If you're in bad grass, which means dead, dying, decaying grass or a non-fishable grass, it'll mat up around your jig. Okay, so that gives me the indication that I'm fishing either in the right place or the wrong place. I made the right cast or I made the wrong cast, depending on your angle. So I shake it, drag it, shake it. As soon as I come in contact with something, I pull and shake until it either blows through or skips over. Okay, hard cover, it'll skip over. Grass, it'll blow through it. That's when 90% of the bites come. And you will be amazed at the size and quality of the fish you catch doing this. It is absolutely insane. And everybody freaks out because you're using 6-pound test line and they're like all wigged out about it. But I have not broke a fish off in 7-8 years doing this. Just manage your line. And so basically what you do is, what I look for is I look for flats. You know how if you go into a short pocket, the pocket starts to peter out in the back, and the really sharp creek channel definition may wane a little bit. It may get dishpanny, and then the isolated grass on there. So if I go into a pocket and I see isolated grass, I pick the flattest bank where it comes off and fish that, keeping my boat out deep, casting up to the flats. Some flats are in 4 feet of water. Some flats are in 8 feet of water. I've had flats that were in 10 feet of water. It's all predicated on how clean the water is, how deep the grass grows. I would love to take credit for this technique, but I can't. I had a good buddy of mine show me this technique, who learned it from a good friend of his from Michigan. You know, Ray's the one who showed me the technique, and but he fishes a lot with Greg Mangus, and Greg Mangus showed him. Of course, Zona and all those guys up in Michigan have been doing this for decades. I didn't catch on to it till about 10 years ago. 10, 11 years ago is when I caught on to it.
Variation of a jig head worm, per se. Okay, so the comments are blowing up here. So why the exposed hook? Why not have a light weed guard? Why not just throw a light Texas rig and do the same thing?
Because on the Sparky head, the whole design of this bait is to get it to slide up and over stuff. But the way this head design is, it really doesn't hang up a lot because it keeps the hook upright and it slides and skips across the bottom better. A Texas rig, there's no way to keep the hook upright. It rolls around, it rolls over. It's not nearly as effective. Okay, now on a shaky head system, because you're in the winter, because a lot of the bites are soft, super, super soft, like you'll think you're on something and you'll be shaking it to pull it through, and then all of a sudden you get a shake back. Your hooking percentages are 100% with this. There's no monkeying around. This is like a no play zone here. And so this technique is really fantastic. So we talk about traditional baits, okay? So like here, if I'm out there and I'm pumping a perfect 10, water temperature's 38 degrees, I have this tied on as well. Because I'll fish this bait in conjunction with my other shallower baits. Now, if I'm spoon fishing or blade bait fishing in 20, 30 feet of water, that's not really going to play. I use this technique, and I'll say from the bank down to about 15 feet is when I use this technique. And again, the small woolly bug, I love it. This is one of my favorite colors in this bait for this time of year. I believe it's called brim.
Kind of a black or kind of a blue-green pumpkin?
Yeah, it's a green pumpkin blue. And then the biffle bug, green pumpkin, blue, green pumpkin, watermelon candy is good. It depends on your lake,
It almost sounds like you're getting a reaction bite when you pop it out of that grass, almost like a trap.
100%. 100%. But you will be amazed at how this thing comes through with an open hook. You will be amazed. I have a lake with a rock pile in it. And the rock pile, I call it a rock pile. It's not really a rock pile. What it is, it's a rocky edge where this grass meets it. And it's in about 9 to 15 feet of water. It's just a hard bottom that goes down about 9 to 15 feet. And the grass grows up on the flat all around this thing, but where that rock pile is right on that break zone. My son Josh and I pulled up there one winter, and it was December is what it was. And I ran right over there, and the first cast with this thing, I catch a 4-pounder. We sat there for 2 hours and caught them non-stop. And my buddy showed up about 11 o'clock on the lake. And he had been fishing around, and then he saw us and he came over. And by the time he saw us, we had already moved off of that area because we depleted it. I mean, we just sat there and crashed them. And he said, "Man, I only got 3." And I'm like, "What'd you get him on?" He goes, "Well, I got 2 on the Sparky and 1 on a swim jig." And I'm like, "Man," he goes, "How'd you guys do?" I said, "I don't know. I think we caught like 45 or 50. And he's like, "Well, no wonder I only caught 3. You caught them all already." But what I didn't tell him was I caught them all off of one spot. So he thought I was popping around on all the other stuff that's similar. But I never moved the boat the whole time until right before he got there. And I didn't know he was going to be there. I was just looking for other places to catch them. And then we wound up fishing for another 3 hours and caught probably a dozen more, and then left. I mean, that one spot was just loaded. But we caught so many fish in the 3.5 to 5 pound range, it was ridiculous. I mean, just ridiculous. And here's a funny thing. We use 6-pound line, and if you use 10, you couldn't hardly get a bite.
What's the deal with that?
I don't know. It's just the line. I don't know. I have no idea. But so what I did was I had a rod rigged with 6, 8, and 10, figuring if I'm throwing it into heavier grass, I'll throw the 10 and, work my way down in line diameter as I got deeper, as the grass got more sporadic. The minute I stayed on the 6, you just kept catching them and catching
Straight
them.
6. You're not a braid to fluoro guy.
No.
Just old school? Is there a reason?
Well, here, look, I'll be honest with you. I had always been fishing it with straight 6. And this year, Powell came out with some new spinning rods, and the tips are a little soft. So this year I went to braid to fluoro. So I did catch some this year on this technique with braid to fluoro, but I can't speak on that wholeheartedly because this is the first year I did the braid to fluoro on this technique, on the Sparkie technique. So I'm sure it works. I'm 100% sure it works. But here's the thing. You have to maintain a tight line with the braid because if you have slack in it, you won't feel the sluggish bite until you tighten up on the braid, because slack braid doesn't transmit up the line. Okay. So that's what you got to be cognizant of when you're using the braid. Now, it definitely snapped through the grass better with the braid. I will say that. That's the one thing I did notice.
The other thing that comes to my mind there is there's probably a bunch of guys who have a jig box and say, man, I can just strip my Arky jig and do it that way. But how important is the diameter? I'm just thinking of burying that hook. Does it have to be a thinner diameter wire on that Arky jig than a big meat flipping hook that you would I pour 20-pound fluorocarbon with?
Yeah, I pour these myself. Okay. I actually made the mold because I wanted the keeper system on it.
Okay.
So I pour these myself. This is an actual Sparkie head mold. Okay.
Okay.
1/4 and 3/16 are all I throw in this
3/16.
1/4 and 3/16.
Okay, so light. You're not dealing with 3/8 and half and stuff.
No,
you want it to kind of float.
Right, 99% of the time I'm throwing 1/4. So this style of hook is a Gamakatsu 1111, I think.
Okay.
But I like the way that the Cahill style bend is in this hook. It pins the fish up here and holds them up here. Where a round style hook, the jig can flail around real easy with a round style. With this Cahill style hook, it pins them up here, and it's harder for them to shake it. Although, in all honesty, 90% of the hookups are right in the roof of the mouth, and the jig is in its mouth. None of the jig's sticking out. So it's really a fantastic technique. And like I said, I can't take credit for it. I didn't invent it. Just
perfected it.
Right. I saw the usefulness of this tool, and I flipping went mental on this thing.
Huh. Doug wants to know, and just kind of repeat, are you driving around until you find the grass on your locator, or are you looking for arches on your locator? It sounds like you're kind of visually seeing like some matted, shallower grass and then feeling for where it is.
Well, a lot of times in the winter, the grass dies back, so it's not on the surface anymore. But if you're familiar with the lake, you know where the grass flats are. If you're familiar with it. If you're not familiar with the lake, it's really simple to do. I look at my topographical map, find some flats, and then go side scan it real quick. And you'll see the isolated. And if you see isolated, you're in the money. You're totally in the money. And the best grasses to do it with is milfoil, coontail, and immature hydrilla. Eelgrass is rough. And eelgrass dies back really crazy. So, and coontail, if you're not in the new growth coontail, it'll be mushy and soft.
Not good.
No. Your stringy grass is bad. Any stringy grass is terrible in the winter.
Should be clean. You feel it. It gives a little boom. You snap it free. You might have a little sprig every now and then.
Right. But it's green. It's vibrant green. In fact, it almost looks chartreuse. It's so damn green.
That's good grass. That's when you get off the
Right.
ramp and you're talking to your buddy and he's like, "Man, I tell you, I found a patch of good grass."
Right, exactly,
And you're
100%.
like, "Oh, dang it."
I know. And you'll know immediately with this technique if it's good or not, because if it's good, you're snapping through it. If it's bad, you're balling it up and bringing it in with you. And here, look, you could have bad grass shallower, and the better grass could be deeper. So just because you make a first cast and get bad grass, you got to back it off a little bit and keep working that bait down, because the better grass can be deeper. Because what happens is it dies back, but there's still sunlight penetration in the winter, so the new stuff starts to grow again. And so that's what you're really looking for. You're looking for that kind of thing.
They're talking with guys who catch fish out of grass in my limited grass experience, which is now expanding.
It has to expand.
It's expanding a lot. It seems to me like a lot of the guys who do well in grass, like if you have massive, vast expanses of really good grass, that's really hard to target, because then you're looking for basically the needle in the haystack, the hard spot on that, the turn on that. But if you're getting frustrated because you're not finding the good grass, you would rather have like one really good patch of good grass and a lot of bad grass than a bunch of good grass, right?
Absolutely, dude. Ned, that's the magnet. The magnet is exactly that. So like you might have an old grass flat that the grass grows there, and you go there and a lot of it's no good. A lot of it's bad. It's decayed, it's dead, it's mushy, it's soft, and then all of a sudden you come into one tiny area where it's crispy and green. Every bass within that area is going to be utilizing that, and it's going to have numbers on it. That's just how the winter goes. Now, I remember one year with this technique. It was after Thanksgiving, and up here after Thanksgiving means your water temperature is already, 42 to 39 degrees. Okay. I was catching them on the bank, fishing the dead lily pads. And I was amazed. They were literally in, a foot and a half of water. And so you just have to experiment, because they'll trick you every year. Some years I catch them super shallow. Some years I catch them deeper. And then some years, if you're not throwing a Flash Mob Junior, you're just never going to catch one. So you just have to experiment in the wintertime. And wintertime's becoming one of my favorite times a year to fish. Okay, what's the big difference between using a jig worm and the Sparkie? If you can use this technique with a jig worm on a Sparkie head, a ball head will snag on everything, and it'll roll over on you on everything.
You're doing a lot. I think the jig worm, from the way I've seen it fish, and I have not ever fished it, full disclosure, it's more of a light head that you're casting into the grass, intentionally getting it snagged and kind of popping it out and through. This, you're talking about dragging on the bottom, using it more around rocks. You're doing a bluegill
grass and rock.
Crawfish and bluegill imitator with what you're doing. More of like, think of it as like a 4x4 jig head worm.
Yeah, this
four-wheel jig head worm.
This is crawling over everything. It's coming over. The way the hook design is, it lays like that in the water. With a jig head worm, the ball head will roll a lot on you. It doesn't always hook up. And the way this head design is, it slides over everything, pops and slides over. Most ball head designs are 90 degree. Okay. And this is a 60 degree, and it's forward on the jig head, right where the jig head's going to bounce over things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right where the jig head's going to slide and bounce over stuff. This is a very, very perfectly designed jig head for that application. And I've used other jig heads, and they don't work nearly as good, not even close. I've done ball heads. I've done jig heads that are shaped like slip sinkers. I've done all this stuff. This is by far the best one. That's why I got the molds. I went out and bought the molds. because I wanted my own hook in there. I wanted a little lighter wire hook. I wanted that Cahill style bend. And so I fabricated my own mold to make them, because it is, dude, I'm telling you, this technique is just mind boggling. It's mind
I
boggling.
believe you. Brad Hallman, one time we were at a little lake and I was filming a deal with him. He's like, hey, you want to know an easy way to tell the difference between milfoil and hydrilla? And I was like, absolutely. And he reached down and he plucked some out and he said, milfoil, when you lay it in your hand, it'll collapse against the stalk. It'll be limp against the stalk. He said a good hydrilla, when you pluck it, he said it will stay rigid. You cannot collapse those leaves up against the stalk of the plant like you can with the milfoil.
Well, yeah, and there's actually different shape to the leaves. I mean, if you...
Well, for a grass novice like me, Frank, grass is grass unless it's like water willow.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or eelgrass.
I mean, milfoil and hydrilla do not look the same. They don't look the same. I mean, I can...
To the untrained eye, you got to realize, I mean, you got to simplify things for guys like me. We don't see this stuff every day. Can you draw a milfoil leaf and a hydrilla leaf then?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
By memory.
By memory.
Oh, this is going to be good, folks. There was Uncle Frank's eyes lit up. He grabbed a piece of paper, and he is now furiously drawing.
Yeah, it's going to be
between milfoil and hydrilla.
It's going to be crude because it's just going to be a little crude, but you'll get the idea. And you'll notice something too about it.
Just a happy little leaf.
Yeah, just a little happy little foliage.
We'll just put a little happy little leaf over here. Maybe lives over here in about 12 foot of water.
Okay, now this is probably stupid because I drew it right over top of my other one, but generally speaking, this is what hydrilla looks like. Milfoil has more little fronds coming out of it.
Explain that kind of in terms. Okay. So that one single stalk that's vertical, that is, I guess, more linear leaves as opposed to tree looking.
Right. These leaves actually go around the stalk in parallel units, all perpendicular with a little bit of space. And then another group of leaves that go around the tree, the stalk. And they're generally single strands that grow together. They're single strands and they all grow up together and they intertwine. Where milfoil will have little offshoots that come off of the main stalk, and the leaves are fluffier, not big like coontail. Coontail is like a raccoon tail. It's fluffy and fluffs out. Milfoil is tighter to the stalk, same principle as coontail, but it's not coontail. And you could tell the difference because coontail's soft and feather-like, where milfoil is crispy, and so is hydrilla. Hydrilla is real crispy too, and they stay crispy in the winter. So you're able to just pop that thing and it blows right through it all.
Doug said he needs to tape pictures of that to his console of his boat, so when he pulls the grass in, he can refer back to that. Well,
here, I've got some videos out where I show the difference of the grass. Like there's a cranking video I got out on LureNet. It's called Winter Cranking or Fall Cranking Grass Lakes.
Okay.
Where I show you milfoil close up. And there's another one that hasn't aired yet where I show you milfoil, coontail, and hydrilla. And cabbage grass. But cabbage grass is real easy because it looks like, corn.
It's hard to fish that. You don't fish that stuff in cabbage grass, do you?
No, you can't get it through cabbage grass. But cabbage grass is a different animal. And most of the time, the cabbage dies back first because it grows shallower.
I got you. That's a good segment, Frank.
Pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet.
I think we've taken care of all the questions about that. And the hook, again, there are some questions about that. It is a 60-degree.
It's a 60-degree hook.
Okay. Yep.
And
do you have to bend that out to fit in the mold, or does it fit in the mold just like that?
mine fits in the mold. Well, you know what? No, I bend it down just a smidge,
Okay.
just to because I want the hook not to be close to the lead. You know what I mean? I want it
Yep.
more centered in the lead.
Okay. And then just to wrap it up, then the rod that you're using again on that, the spinning rod with the 6-pound Flora.
7.5 foot medium or
Long.
medium heavy.
Long.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to be able to get it and get the.
Because when you're shaking it, a lot of times you're going to be up here sometimes by the time you poof through the grass. So if you get a bite, you need the length to still sweep the hook, and you don't have to set the hook like a madman either. Because when they pick it up, they're hooked. They're already hooked when they pick it up. You're just tightening up on them, basically.
And it's a 3/0 or 2/0?
I believe this one's a 2/0. In my quarters, I use a 2/0, and in my 3/16, I use a 1/0.
Okay, so small hooks.
Yeah, I'm not using giant gaff type hooks. You don't really want that big giant gaff in there because it'll snag too much.
All right, good stuff. Let's move on to tackle organization here, because that is a big thing. That is something that I am currently working on. That is something that everyone loves to talk about. But though, do you keep your plastics? I noticed that plastic was in a. You had a Yum bag there. Are you a plastics in the bag guy? Or are you a plastics in the box guy? Let's talk about the plastics, because that's a thing that I've never been able to really get a really, really good handle on. And everybody seems to do their plastic organization in their boat, in their garage, totally differently.
Right. So here's what I do, because this is in here because I was filming and I needed to have a real bag in there when I was filming.
Okay.
Ordinarily, that's
Ziploc.
how I'm storing them. Ziploc freezer bag. Okay. So this goes in my winter box, which there's only 4 different baits in my winter box of this beaver style bait. The Yum, the woolly bug, and the Jean LaRue Biffle Bug Jr. Okay, so what I do is I use Ziploc freezer bag. I'll take out the plastics. I pat them down with a paper towel to get as much oil off of them as I can. And I lay them in the bag like this. I just lay them in the bag on top of each other. No big deal.
So one's facing one way, one's facing the other
way.
Okay.
And I do that, and I put 20 to 25 baits in a bag.
So you're not just grabbing a handful, dumping it in, zipping it, and calling it good. You're actually going through and manicuring the tails and of the baits and the appendages.
Right. They're all perfectly straight. So then on the little white part on the Ziploc, I'll label it, woolly bug brim, whatever, green pumpkin blue, whatever it is. And then I roll the bag nice and even, nice and neat, roll the bag, squish the air out, zip it shut. And I use the 3,700 boxes with no dividers in them. And then I just stick them all in there, in there like that.
So you get 4 rows, and you can do, 3 bags in each row? Or you just put one bag in each row? Oh, gosh,
you'd be surprised. I don't even know how many I get in there. I get a lot in there. And so then what I do is, then I have a 3,700 box
That's the deep one.
No, it's just the regular one.
Oh, it's the normal one.
The normal one with no dividers. My deep ones, I used to use the deep ones all the time for this. But what happens is you get so much in them that now you're rummaging through it all to find everything. And I don't like that. So and all my labels are facing up. So when I open my worm box, they're all right there, and it's all labeled. So what I'll do is I'll put, finesse worms in one, and I might have 4.5 inch and 6.5 inch finesse worms in one. And then in the other one, I'll have my dinger boxes are easy because I have 5 inches in one and 4 inches in another one. That's a piece of cake. My spine craws, Same thing. I'll have spine craws. Half of it'll be spine craws. The other half will be a speed craw. So that all my fast claw action type baits are in one. My money craws and my Christie craws are in one. You know what I mean? So I have the different actions are each in one individual box. And so here's how easy this is. So let's say we go out and let's say we're catching them on woolly bugs, on Sparkie heads. So you and I are out in a day and we're just pounding them. So all of a sudden you go, I go, well, we used all the brim. So I go back, when I get back home, I just go out and get some more brim and I just replace it. And so my boat is never empty. And when I fish Bassmasters, that's exactly what I did. I had all my spare tackle in my truck. Quite frankly, exactly the same way I pack it in my boat, but in my truck. So at the end of the day, if I lost 3 deep little end Normans, I would go back to the truck, and take out the deep little end Normans that I used and lost in the tournament and replace them in the boat. So my boat is never depleted of tackle ever, and I keep up with it all year long. So here, this year, after New Year's Eve, I filmed that Rogue show, New Year's Eve. Looked at the weather forecast. They were talking about single digits, 20 inches of snow. So I ran out, I emptied the boat out, I brought all the tackle in the basement, stacked all my boat tackle up. All my boat tackle goes in one place, all my spare tackle goes somewhere else, and everything else is on pegboard in my basement. So now I got all my boat tackle in the basement, and literally I've kept up with it all year. I don't have to do anything. So what I wound up doing was I said, well, let me go through some of my crankbait boxes and start seeing, because I like to carry, if I'm not in a tournament, I carry 3 of every color. If I'm in a tournament, I carry 5 of every color in the boat. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Because I got caught with my pants down on cur that way. I didn't have enough. I was catching them on a deep little end in lavender shad, and I only had 3. I lost 2 in practice, didn't have any with me, couldn't find any in the tackle store. First morning of the tournament, I catch 3, and then I hang it up in a deep brush pile. I can't get it out, and I lose it. And then guess what? I didn't catch another crankbait fish the rest of the day.
I bet you were a joy to be within the boat while you were trying to get that last one back out of the brush pile.
Dude, I was a frantic mess. So
you said that'll never happen again.
That's right. And so it will never happen again. In fact, on Kentucky Lake, I was catching them on fat-free shads and citrus and DD22s in tropical shad, which is the same color. Anyhow, Edwin Evers said, "Hey, dude, do you have any citrus?" And I go, "Yeah, I got tons of them." He goes, "Can I borrow some?" So I gave him a half a dozen, because in my truck, I didn't carry 4. In my truck, I carried over 6 of every crankbait color, because after that cur event, I would never get caught with that without having the baits again. But it's all organized. So when I dive into my truck, I see guys with them big tubs in the back of their truck.
That's me.
And they're just filled to the top with everything.
That's me.
And they're pulling stuff out. I know it's in here
somewhere.
Right, and here. And when you're doing that, Matt, don't even deny it. When you're doing that, it's pitch black outside, because it's the end of the day. You can't find nothing.
Oh yeah, and everyone gathers around, is making fun of you, and you're in the back of the truck, and you end up with hooks and hard baits and soft baits and plastics all over 100%. The bed of your truck, because you've unpacked it, because you're at the tournament. Then at 100%. The end of the tournament, you start putting stuff in, and you've got 100 packs literally just free floating in the back.
Right, so you get complacent, and you just scoop them all up and throw them in a bin, smash the lid back down, cover the truck, and you're on your way. And it's never organized, and you never know what
the whole year never stays organized. It's a catch-all bin that you know that might be in there, and half the time you don't realize it till the year's over and you dump it all out and you're like, there's that. I was looking for that in April.
Right. Or, oh my God, I got 30 of these and I went out and bought more because I thought I was out.
Or even
But
worse, you put the bag of the stuff you bought from the tackle store that you didn't use, and then you toss that bag in, and then like 4 months later, you're like, "What's in this bag?" And it's like all this amazing stuff that you totally forgot you
yeah,
had.
exactly. But yeah, so in the bed of my truck, everything's labeled straight up in rows, organized. And if I need something, I go, oh, deep little lens. There's the box. Open it up, close it, replace it. And then when I get home, I replace from my truck. When I was traveling Bassmasters all the time, when I got home, I'd run in the basement, replace my truck. And then in my basement inventory, when I would get down to a half a dozen baits, I would order more,
Mhm.
stock the basement up. So the basement was my hub. The truck was my, secondary hub. And then, so whatever went
Foolproof. You have
from
a
the,
supply chain.
yeah, whatever went from the truck to the boat, when I got home, went from the basement to the truck. So I
Okay.
never, dude, that happened to me. And I said, this is never happening again because it cost me money. And I said, that ain't working out for me.
Okay, settle this debate for me. This is an issue that I run into all the time, Frank, and ran into it this year, and it cost me tackle boxes. It's a pain in the butt. What do you do when you're in a tournament and you are on a crankbait bite and it's raining? This has happened to me
Yes.
multiple times. Do you have a solution? I'm putting you on the spot here
Yes.
because here's
No.
what happens. You're in the tournament, you don't care, you'll deal with it. Now you just got a bunch of moisture in a box that has 100 crankbaits in it.
Yep.
What do you do in that situation? Because I think everybody has struggled with that.
Yeah. Two things. I store my crankbaits without hooks on them. And then in the tournament, if I know I'm catching them on a specific color or a specific bait, I'll hook up 3 or 4 of them. And then I don't put them in my tackle compartment. Okay, I put them somewhere where I can reach in and get them real quick, where I'm not opening up my whole tackle compartment all the time for them. If I go through those and I have to get another one, I'm like a madman because I'm over the rod locker. I'm cracking the lid a little bit, trying to get my hand in there because dude, I go mental. If things do get wet, I take them in the hotel room and open them all up, dry them out, and then put them back in the boat in the morning. Because there's a lot of times on Lake Erie, it won't be raining and they're getting wet.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
But when I'm on Lake Erie, the only tackle in my boat is what I'm using for smallmouth. I don't load my boat with all my largemouth stuff on Lake Erie. In fact, 90% of my rods come out and probably 60% of my tackle comes out.
Do you carry a hairdryer with you?
I do not. Why would I?
Well, for the
I
tackle,
know
there's guys I've seen that go in there, not close enough to where the bait expands, but they go in there. And then the other thing that I use is silica packets.
Yeah, you can use those.
Yeah, and the best ones come with I've got some family members with some heart issues, right? So they have to take heart meds, and in the packs it comes like a high-end silica pack that keeps all the medication dry in there.
Those are
my
really
uncle.
Good.
Every Christmas, I get a box. He just gave them to me with about 100 little silica packs in it that he saves all year, and I toss those in my hard bait boxes, and they just absorb any of that excess moisture.
Yeah, and you have to replace those too.
But that's a good idea because here's the problem you end up with: then they get caught in the hooks, and then they rip when you're getting them out.
Right.
But
Then
storing them without the hooks but you store them with the split rings on it.
Yeah.
The rings on it just keep your hooks completely separate, and then you're building those baits as needed.
Correct. And because here, look, because you can get more baits in with no hooks on them because you marry them up to each other. And so you can marry them up to each other and you can stack them in the little trays. You can marry them up and stack them opposite way when you put them on top. And then you can get more baits in the box. Now, there's times when, like if I use several different crankbaits during the day, I'm not going to take the hooks off of them.
Right.
in the tournament. I'm going to put them back in the box. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So some of them will have hooks on them through the course of, if I'm fishing for a week, for example, I'll have a lot with hooks on them. But then what I do when I have time to get in the boat is then I go through the hooks and I go, this one's rolled over, this hook comes out, this one's getting rust, this hook comes off. You know what I mean? Then I go through and I redo it all. It seems like a pain in the butt, but it's not, because if you keep up with it, it's minimal. It's just minimal. It's like cleaning a house. If you don't clean your house but once a month, it's a pain in the ass every time you got to clean your house. But if you do it a little bit every day, it's never a big chore. You know what I mean? And that's how
Hmm.
I do my tackle. Like now I'm ice fishing. So now I'm getting ready for ice fishing. Well, all my ice fishing tackle is the same way. It's all perfect. And so now I just have these two little boxes, of ice fishing tackle, and they're perfect. And so I just, I mean, everything is good. Like Frankie and I were talking last night, because we're probably going tomorrow and Saturday. We were talking last night. He's like, "Man, I got to get all my ice fishing stuff and da 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 da." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm done." He goes, "What do you mean you're done?" I go, "Dude, after ice fishing last year, because we didn't even hardly have ice last year, so we fished out of the boat mostly the entire year last year. Um, I said I went through it. Anything that was ratty, I got rid of. She changed out all the hooks on any of my little Lindy spoons and stuff. Changed out all the hooks on those, and got everything ready. So this year I don't have anything to do but go. You know what I mean? Just pack and go. Um, Tackle storage and meticulousness with tackle. What people don't understand is, Matt, that saves you so much time in a tournament. You get extra casts and extra fishing time because of it. If you have to rummage around to find something in your boat and it takes you 5 minutes, how many casts did you just not make?
Hmm.
Or if you were getting stuffed and you were going to leave to go to another spot and you're like, oh, I got to throw this lure on, let me tie it on before I get there, and you can't find it, a guy could beat you to the other spot by the time you figure it out and find it and tie it on.
Are you a specific treble hook guy?
Yeah, I am actually. Gosh, man, I like the Gamakatsu round bend originals. um the bronze.
Hmm.
The black nickel, if it's not 2x or 3x. I want the thinner hook. I'll take my chances on the crankbait. I haven't had a bass straighten a crankbait out yet on me, ever. Um, I'll take my chances. Now, if you're throwing something like, you know, a super spook,
Hmm.
two X's won't hurt you because I'm throwing it on 50-pound braid.
Didn't some of those used to come with like some sort of twisted treble hook? It had like the little.
Yeah, that was the Excalibur hook.
They don't make those anymore.
No, I have friends of mine that are fans of that hook beyond belief. I never, I used those in practice and then took them off because I want new metal. Anytime I'm in a tournament, I want new metal.
I got you.
I'm not, and I change my hooks crankbait fishing several times a day.
How do you store your treble hooks? Because I've got a. I mean, I could show it here. I have a Gamakatsu box that I use. Have you seen that one?
No,
You
I
want me to
haven't seen
throw
it.
it up? Is it cool to throw that up or?
Throw it. I want to see the
Okay.
box, dude.
All right. Hold on.
I mean, Falcon used to make a hook box that was pretty
Okay.
good.
No, this is. So this
Oh
is.
yeah,
See, it has slits in it.
yeah.
And then it's just specifically designed for that. And your treble hooks sit in the slits, and they can you see the mouse over it there too?
I got you.
The slits, you can stack your treble hooks in rows. So you do like twos, threes, fours,
Yeah,
fives,
yeah.
sixes, and then it's foam, and then so you take them out of the pack. That's how I have
Actually,
started to
I
do it.
would take that box in 2 seconds flat for my flies. I'll
Yeah,
put all my I'll
that's a
put
lot
all
of
my tarpon
flies are
flies in
original
there.
to do it, but I
No, I have in my hook box. I you can fit a million treble hooks in a little 2x2 square.
okay.
And so the blue moisture wicking dividers that a lot of boxes have.
Yep.
They're blue and they're moisture wicking. I cut those in quarters and I throw them on the bottom of all my treble hook slots and then put all my treble hooks on top of them.
Okay. Yeah, that's
because I can get way more treble hooks that way.
And you want it packed in there. You don't want your treble hooks bouncing around. You don't want like 2 or 3 treble hooks in a compartment, and then while you're riding, it's going doo-doo, and those hooks are in there, and all it does is dull the points on them.
Exactly.
So that's the thing with either this or with what you're doing. You didn't specifically say it, but you're packing the hooks in there, so you're using the hooks to protect themselves.
Correct, because if you have like 6 or 7 hooks and they're constantly bouncing around in your boat, those hooks they can dull themselves. I'm like a fanatic about it. Like if I pull a treble hook out and I'm going to put it on a crankbait, if I feel a burr on the end of that hook, I pitch it. I don't even sharpen it. I pitch it. I'm not playing.
Same thing with top waters. You just put all your one knockers, all your Zara spooks, all your pop R's, no hooks.
No hooks. No way. Because you know how, hey, Matt, you go to grab one and the whole tray comes out with it. That's my problem now with my jerkbait box, because I've been hammering them so hard all winter on jerkbaits. Half of my jerkbaits have hooks on them. Now I go in to get a jerkbait, I lift it up, and every jerkbait comes out of there. So I got to go through. That's what I have to do yet. I got to go through and take the hooks off of them and restore them. But yeah, I mean, it's just for simplicity's sake, you know.
Any other little storage tips, tricks, tactics?
No, I always store my rods in sleeves, and I take the divider out of my boat, the rod divider.
You just fit more in.
You fit way more in, and you can lay them nice and neat on top of each other. And as long as they're in those sleeves, your guides are protected. You know, I started monkeying around with the Legend a long time ago when they started doing those rod sleeves. And what I found is that the tips of the rods will come out of the tubes as it gets close to the front of the boat. And that can be problematic because they're always vibrating outside those tubes. And so I want them laying down on the, you know, on the carpeting inside the rod locker.
All right. You want to take a call or two since it is the 50th show? We are approaching an hour. I don't know what your timetable is, but I mean the 50th. If we go 10 minutes over, you good with that? Or you got to go organize ice fishing stuff?
No, I got to go buy some wax worms. That's all I got to do today. I painted they're little moth.
Yeah, what's the difference between a mealworm and a waxworm? Mealworms always seem to stay on the hook better. The waxworms seem to explode.
Yeah, but the waxies I like the waxies better. And they're moth larvae is what they are. And they're they're like 3 times the size of a maggot, and they're softer than a mealworm. And I just like them better. Way better, actually. In fact, I don't even use maggots.
All right, the Sunline hotline is open. That number, if you have a question for Uncle Frank, comment, tackle storage, what did you call it?
Anything.
Not the jig head worm. What was the name?
Sparky head.
The Sparky head. Anything over the last 50 shows that you want to pick Frank Scalish's brain about. The number is 405-253-5543. And we did take some calls before, and we got through it flawlessly on the Sunline hotline, so we'll see if we can go 2 for 2. Once again, that number 405-253-5543. If you have a question for Uncle Frank, if you're watching this at work and you're not supposed to be, you can also ask it on the instant feedback.
That is true. And remember, capital BTL 22, 15% off, lurenet.com.
Yeah, we'll throw that back on there. Hey, you're on with Uncle Frank. Who are we talking with? Hey, you're on with Uncle Frank. Who are we talking with?
Hi, this is Jacob Clark from Iowa.
How we doing? You got to be cold up in Iowa.
Hey, I was out here on the ice wasting some time catching some bluegills and crappie, and I had a question for Uncle Frank on lipless cranks.
All right.
What dictates using a red craw versus a gold black back lipless crank?
All right, that's a great question. Hang up and listen to the answer for Uncle Frank. Thanks for the call.
All right, Jacob.
Yeah, I forgot to say, the mention is Uncle Frank, you can hear them, but they just...
Right, they can't hear me, but I can hear when
Right.
he hangs up, so I know when to start talking.
All right, have at it, Frank.
Real simple. Early in the spring, I'm using red, and I will use gold with a black back at the same time. Here's what I found. If the lakes have golden shiners in them, which a lot of them do, then I will use them in conjunction with each other. And you will be surprised that you catch the same amount on both. Now, some lakes, red is just the way to go, and it's the only way to go. Gunnersville's one of those lakes. Red is just what you're throwing there in that early springtime season. But I always have both. Another thing I'll do with my black back gold bait is if it's all gold with the black back, I might take a white piece of electrical tape and put it on the belly of the lure just to give me a little different color flash.
All right, let's go back to the Sunline Hotline. Hey, you're on day 4 with Frank Scalish. Who are we talking with?
This is Bill in Granbury, Texas.
How's it going, Bill? How are you?
Good, doing great. Let me mute this TV.
Yeah, we got the reverb there.
Granbury, Texas. How's it going, Bill? How are you?
We got about a 10-second delay there. You there, Bill?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, you got a question for Frank?
Yeah. I know he's mentioned this before, and I missed it, but I just got some of those Norman speed clips. Does he take the split ring off on the bait when he puts those speed clips on, or does he leave it on? He just mentioned that he had split rings on his crankbaits. So, and the package says take the split ring off. So, I guess that's my question. Which way do you go with that?
All right. Good to hear from you, Bill.
Got to hang up, Bill.
All
right, Bill. I leave my split rings on and I connect my speed clip to the split ring. It gives my crankbait way more action. I never take the split ring off. I always use the clip in conjunction with the split ring.
All right, let's go to the instant feedback. JT wants to know, could Uncle Frank show us or tell us some of his Carolina rig storage tricks with the foam he mentioned for leaders? Also, does he wrap the leader with the weight/bead around his rod when rigging it in the rod box?
Yes. Oh, yes, I do. I wrap the line all the way up the rod blank, and I make sure that my sinker is wrapped tight around it. Now, the unique thing is my leader lines are a certain length, so they always fall right below my last guide, usually, or just above my last guide. And so then I can keep it nice and tight to the rod so it's not slamming on the rod running down the lake. The other thing I do is if I pre-make leaders, I make them with the hook and the crane swivel. And I use those little tubes that you get for pools, the floaty tubes. And I wrap them around that, and I don't cinch them super tight. I just wrap them around that, and then I take the hook and I hook it into the opening on the crane swivel. So it's locking the crane swivel down and they don't unravel on you. And so I'll have a little short, I'll have a short little tube and it might have 6 liters on it. And that's how I do that.
Awesome. All right, let's go back to the Sunline Hotline. Hey, you're on day 4 with Frank Scalish. Who are we talking with? Hello. Going once. Going twice.
They're gone. And they're gone.
Back to the Paul has an interesting question, and I think you'll be able to answer. He was actually asking Frank. He said, "Is there any way to find the grass at the ends of the ditches that you were talking about earlier with the beaver bait if you can't see it because of muddy colored water and no electronics on my kayak. You're finding that a lot by casting out and dragging. Isn't that one of the beauties of that bait, that you can find those isolated clumps using the lure and don't have to, if you don't have the ability to find it with electronics?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that lure, that Sparky head system will tell you everything you need to know. It's just like a Carolina rig. If you're dragging the rig down there, you know if you're in rock, grass, wood, whatever. Sparky head will do the same thing. It'll tell you right away, and you'll know right away too.
You ever fish dead grass in the winter? J-Rod asked that question. You can kind of couple those two answers together.
The only dead grass I fished in the winter is bulrushes and lily pad roots. That's the only stuff I focused on in the wintertime. If you have true grass lake, or there's as the grass dies off, as the water temperatures cool down, you still have light penetration. So then you're going to have new growth starting. So you're never really fishing dead grass. But no, I don't focus on dead grass. Dying, decaying grass utilizes oxygen. And so the bass will gravitate towards the greenest grass they can find.
All right, let's go back to the Sun Line Hotline. You are on the 50th, day 4 with Uncle Frank.
Can't believe
Who are we talking with? You there? Are we going to go 0 for 2 here?
We're glitching, dude.
I don't think it's a glitch.
I don't either.
You there? Hello.
Hello?
Oh, we got you. You're on day 4 with Frank Scalish. Who are we talking with?
Hey, this is Brett in New Hampshire. How you doing?
Good.
Mark, we miss you. Thanks for everything you did. Matt, you're crushing it on your own.
Thank you.
Frank, you're the man.
Thanks,
Just wondering if we're going to be able to get our hands on that number 7 color spook ever. Love to ship one back out to you guys and get you to sign it.
All right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a great
Thanks.
question.
All right.
Number 7 spook. I'll go ahead and just grab it. I've happened to have Mark Jeffries in the back.
Go for it. Go for it. Yes, the Color 7 spook is actually going into production right now. It's going to be available sometime after March. We are going to make a bunch of them. They are going to be numbered. So it's going to be first come, first serve is what numbers you get. I will announce it when it's going to go up to BTL listeners. So you guys will, in fact, have first crack at it.
Here it is.
And here's the color. Number 7. There it is.
It is labeled on the bottom. Like this one says number 1, handwritten by you, I would assume.
By me.
This one says number 1 FAS, which are your initials, I would assume.
They are correct.
12/8/21. That's when you made it. This is the first one ever. So Mark
That's
gets
the first
number
one
1 and 2. I got number 8, and I'm pretty proud of it. And I've also already been. People have been trying to get that thing from me, and I said, absolutely not.
I took number 7. I did. I had no choice. I wanted one. But
You had to give that one to.
Had to give that.
Mark.
Had to give that to Mark. So I figured 7 was the next best number. Lucky 7.
All
but
right,
yeah, it's going to be available. I will tell you, you will be able to purchase them.
All right, let's go back to the Sun Line Hotline. Who are we talking with? You're on with Uncle Frank. Hello.
There it is. Hey, Matt Pringle here in North Carolina. How y'all doing today?
What's up, Zach? You there? Oh, we're losing him. Zach's probably out doing some
He's
work.
driving. He sounded like he was driving.
Yeah, we'll have him call back in. He can also get the question back to you. All right, let's go right back to it. Hey, you're on day 4 with Frank and Matt. Who are we talking with? You're on with day 4. Gotcha. We are having some... We are like 2 for 5 on the 50th show. I'm losing patience with it, Frank.
If you said they were going to win $100,
we'll try it one more time. Hey, you're on day 4 with Frank and Matt. Who are we talking with? Hello. Going once. Going twice.
This is an epic failure.
All right, let's try it again. Here's a different one. Hey, you're on day 4 with Frank and Matt. Please tell me
You're there.
you're there. Who we talking with? We're done making calls for the day, Uncle Frank. I don't know if there's a delay, but it was working perfect beforehand.
It was perfect before. That's so funny.
That's what happens when we try to do
when we get creative. Yes, when we get creative.
Let's see what this one is. Uncle Frank, what are a few add-ons you could go without on your boat, and why the heck are bass boats getting so expensive?
I love that.
I had to throw that. I had to throw that one up there.
A few add-ons. What's a few add-ons
that you could go without? I guess if you're just gonna go bare minimum, like, is there anything where you're like, man, I put this on the boat and I just haven't used it?
I can't really say anything without getting myself in trouble.
I hear you. I know. I thought that.
I have a few things that I have a few things that I don't put on my boat. I keep my boats. If you want to keep it simple, okay, spend the money on your locators and your trolling motor. That's the best advice I can give you, because you use your locators and your trolling motor more than anything. So go that route.
Got some show suggestions. Early pre-spawn on natural lakes.
Oh,
That'd
yeah.
be a good show spawn. And then also some guys are like, dude, I got no grass where I am. Can we do a dock and rock show? Dock and rock.
Yeah. So send those in and we'll go through them, and then we'll do that. We'll do a show lineup, audience request. Early pre-spawn natural lakes.
Yeah. You got anything else? Let's go back to, like I said, it is a 50th show. And Frank has been able to work out a deal with lurenet.com. So through February 28th, use the code capital BTL22. BTL22. 15% off at lurenet.com.
Yes. Use that. I have more stuff coming down the pipe, but this is the beginning of bigger things to come. So,
dude, 50 shows, 50 shows in. I love our listener base. I love the guys that are there every show, the questions that are asked, the education, the feedback. Because I mean, that's really what it is we're determining. Frank is determining the content and what. Sorry about that. I totally forgot that I was big for that long after I showed the
That's
number
7.
All
right, dude. Sometimes you just got to take the big screen.
You're determining the content and stuff based on the feedback and what you're hearing and what the listeners want to hear about.
Yeah, and also what's happening now. I try to keep it current. Obviously, winter's going to be a little tricky up north, but I'll start traveling pretty soon. So I'll get down to the southern regions pretty soon. So I try to keep the content up to date, so we're not, wildly, like I won't talk about blade baits in the middle of summer. You know what I mean? I'll be talking about
unless you get on an epic blade bait bite in the middle of summer and you're like, I've unlocked a magic key.
Right. I mean, unless it's something profound. I mean, I normally try to keep it, pretty congruent to what's going on in the seasonal patterns. Sometimes you guys have great suggestions. Like I get a lot of DMs on my Instagram, which is Scalish_fishing. And then I take those and I go through those, and I do go through them every day, and I'll write down the ideas from those. So a lot of guys that have DM'd me about something will know and could attest to the fact that I will talk about it on the show. Even if it's something that we talked about already, if I get a lot of the same things, like, guys miss some information and they want a little finer detail, I will talk about it again. Because it's the audience that makes the show great. So to have participation from you guys is what keeps this show fresh and new. And so that's the whole key to this, especially day 4.
You're not going to believe what just happened. So Frank Jr.
Of course
just sent me a hand drawing of coontail.
Oh no.
Milfoil and hydrilla on a piece of just a piece of regular paper. So now I have the official grass identification. That was awesome.
He just sent it to me too.
He's a good, show that. That's the same one that I just got. Oh boy, Frankie.
All right, attaboy.
All right, you got anything else, or are we gonna wrap up the 50th show here, and you're gonna go into your ice fishing cave with your waxworms and your mealworms and your 2.5-foot rods and your What are some of the names of the ice fishing stuff? They always crack me up, the names of the ice fishing lures.
Well, Lindy tungsten toads, quiver spoons, slick jigs, frosty spoons.
I guess you have a lot of time to think when you're sitting out there over
on the
hole
ice
in 20-degree weather, staring at an 8-inch hole.
Hey, I redid a ton of Lindy ice stuff and created a brand new lure for Lindy, for ice fishing. I know the guys down south, don't give let's say a rat's behind about
it's
ice
interesting
fishing.
Though, dude. Like, I went and did it for the first time. There's way more to it. I was not giving the ice guys enough credit. There's every bit as much to it as there is open water fishing. In fact, a lot of guys ice fish like they do open water. Just you're sitting there moving around on top of the ice instead of under the ice. But it's every bit as technical. We didn't even get into the winter safety, early spring safety. Let's save that for let's save that for 51. Let's save that for 51.
That. All right, that's good too, because then I'll be prepared. That'll be good.
Staying safe on the water next week.
Right, and here, well, okay, I'm not going to do it.
Go for it. If you want to tease it, you can do whatever you want. This is day 4 with Frank Scalish.
Like, I'm really excited because I just got my Striker flotation ice fishing jacket today, and that's going to be the flotation jackets and flotation bibs are going to be a big part of that cold water bass boat fishing.
Gotta be safe out there.
You have to be safe.
All right, to the ice fishing cave it is. Good luck procuring your wax worms.
I'll be like this.
Frank, good show today. Thanks for all the calls. Thanks for all the feedback. Thank you for the support of BTL and Day 4 with Frank Scalish. Hopefully, we'll be here next year doing the 100th show.
We will be. And capital BTL 22, 15% off lurenet.com.
Day 4, that's it. We're out.